Hello guys, welcome to WebTricks Home. This is Laravel tutorial part 4 and arguably the final tutorial too. Here we'll be focusing on displaying data from database on frontend, right? And I hope you all have added a couple of data on the tables created, right? So I'm gonna show you my uploaded data here. Let's start with the menus then. And you can see all the menus here, right? Let's go with the advertisement. And what I've done here is I've added the size section in the database. So let's make it available in display file. Here you go. Refresh the file and you can see all the sizes, large, small and medium, right? And going to the PostView table, right? Let's open, right? And you can see all the posts here, and you can see it's a bit awkward displaying all the entire description section here. So let's strip it with str_limit and the display file and declaring the character limit there. Let's do the same for meta description as well, right? And refresh the file and the view is much beautiful here. Still you can see a long list of posts here, so let's modify the PostView function and use paginate instead of get and admin controller, right? And define the number here, data, that will be the data number. Refresh the browser and you can see the view is limited to 10 posts only here, right? So let's add the link for the pagination here, and that's variable and the links, right? And that will be data. Refresh the browser and you can see the pagination at the bottom, right? And through the pagination links you can go to each of the page, different pages here, right? So let's add a bit of styling here. Keep it on the far right section and that looks much more beautiful. That's done. Refresh the browser and you can see the pagination on the far right and the view is much better. And still it's gonna trouble you when you want to edit specific posts here, so let's make it manageable. Going to the admin controller, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna create multiple view functions for each of the category posts with different categories, right? And let's start with the politics category here, and I'm gonna change the name PostView to politics view here, and then define the root for that one and web the PHP file, right? And add the URL in the URL and you can see all the posts from politics category here, right? And that becomes a bit manageable. So what you're gonna do is let's add that URL in app.blade file so that you can get the navigation link on navigation, and that makes it easier to navigate through the pages, right? So you can see the politics view link over there, right? So let's go on and do the same for all other categories, right? So we're just gonna copy the code here, the same line of code, and changing the variables as per our name. And app.blade is done. Let's do the same with web.php file, all the roots, right? And that's also done. So let's go to the admin controller and redefine the functions here. Refresh the browser and you can see all the navigation links there. You can go through each of the pages there and you can see the entertainment section here, right? So that becomes easy to manage now. So that's all about the backend application here that I wanted to show you. Now you can edit your posts easily here. So let's go to the front end then, right? So rather than doing that, let's go to the new tab and open the file. So you can see the front end index file here. Now to work on the front end, let's create a different controller here so that all the functions are organized, right? So opening CMD, going to the project file and PHP artisan make controller, front controller, if you remember, right? So admin controller, front controller is created. So we're gonna put different functions here. Before that, let's allow access to the database here, right? So we're gonna create multiple functions there and work on the front end files, but before that let's add some front-end files. I've got only the index files so far now, right? So I'm going to copy the inner pages as well from the design folder, right, and paste it in my front-end views front-end file, right, and then changing the extension to .blade.php. You can use define the root for those files to see it in the browser, but I'm gonna create app.blade first, right, and removing the main section here and replacing it by yield content, and then going to the index file, right, removing a header and footer and extending the app.blade here, and the main section would be the content section, right, and that will be frontend.app, right. That's done. So refresh the browser and you can see the app.blade syncing to index.blade, right, and you can see the header and footers there. Then let's do the same with the article and the category page that I've just copied, right. Remove the header and footer, refresh the browser, add URL if you want to see it, right. So let's make the date section on top display the current date that's in the app.blade, right, and use the Laravel date function here. That's date d to mdy. Refresh the browser and you can see the current date here, right. So that's done. Now you can see the current day and date on the browser. Then we go for the backend data here, but before that we need to link the front-end controller with the front-end files, right. So replace root with that and then create a return view function in front-end controller, right. That's done. And we can place universal variables in public underscore construct function, right, and we can define the variables for all the data that we want to show on multiple files, and doing this makes it easy to fetch file in multiple files rather than a single file, right. So I'm working on the menu here. There's a bit of error, the semicolon and the spelling of function. That's done. So you can see the menus there, right, displayed from the database. So what we're going to do is go with the add section, then the bigger add, large add on the top of menu. So creating variable for that add, and then the clause size where size equals to large, right, and we can use first to get the first data, point to the database and front-end file, refresh the browser and you can see that add changed, right. So what we're going to do now is going to the latest news section on top, right, and for that create a variable that will be from table post where status on, and we can order by table ID so that we get the last entry on top, right, and point to the database field. So there's a little bit of error on the front-end controller file. Change that table to TBL. That's the table name, right. Refresh the browser and you can see the title here displayed from the database, right. So that's all about app.blade for now. That's all about the header section. Let's go to the index section then. So we're going to create multiple variables in a function where the return view is index, right. So that's index function. So we're going with multiple posts here, post views. So I'm going to create variable for each of the posts, right. The first one is politics here, and that will be the first larger image in the browser, if you see, right, the left one. So point it to the database image for the image, and that will be array index 0 means the first value from the data from the database, right. Redefine the variable below that written view. That's a bit of error. Amend that. Refresh the browser and you can see that image from the database, right. So let's do the same with other sections as well. So the second one will be the first image on the right section, middle section, right? Let's make it entertainment. So the same thing, doing the same thing, right? Changing the variable to entertainment here. Refresh the browser and you can see that post here. So we'll do the same for each of these top posts, displaying first data from different post categories, right? For the remaining 3. Copying the functions, copying the variables and changing the variable names. Refresh the browser and you can see all this good, right? But the title is a bit longer at the bottom 2 posts, right? So let's strip those titles and limit those to character limits. Okay, let's make it 30 characters. Refresh the browser and everything looks good then, right? So then we can go to the index file, health section, right? We are working in the index file. So you can see 2 columns here. So one has got that single data and the other has multiple data. So let's go with the single data. Here we can use array index 0 once again, right? That will be title there and description there with character limit. That's done. You can go work on the loop, but let's go once at a time. Refresh the browser and you can see the left data changed. The title is also being displayed there, but in a white color, so that's not being displayed because of the CSS styling here. For heading 3, so let's change it to heading 4 so that it's easily visible. Yeah, that's done. So now we go with the repetitive divs there and keep only one of the div and use for each. We can use slice, right? And define the starting array index, that will be 1 because the first one is gone, right? And the number of data behind that in comma. Refresh the browser and you can see all the posts there, right? So we'll go to the another section there, that's also health there if you see, right? And there's multiple images there. Let's change its name to, let's say, travel, right? And point to the database image, remove all the repetitive things and then create div there, right? And that will be easy for styling if you use div, right? Then for it, and then the same thing, but we can use here take instead of slice, and that will start array index from 0. I have used 8 so that 8 data will be displayed, but there are only 7 data, so 7 are being displayed. Let's add a bit of styling, that's spacing between those image rows, that's marching button. Refresh the browser and you can see the changes there, right? So we could go to the other section below that travel section we just created, right? And the first one is fashion on the left. I don't have fashion in my database, so I'm changing it to style, right? And I guess the first one is already gone from style. No, so we're using array index 0 here. Let's display the title as well. Refresh the browser and you can see the first data there, right? And you can go with the repetitive divs there, just as we did earlier. Keep only one div, remove all others, and use for each loop with array index. That will start from 1 and the number of data being displayed will be 4. Point to the database field you want to display, right? Refresh the browser and you can see all those data being displayed there. So we go to the right section then, and that's sports, right? We have the sports section, so no need to change it. Just straight go to the file and use array index 0 is already gone, so I'll use 1. And the fields that I want to display here, let's add the title as well. So we can go with for each loop for the other 4 repetitive divs there. Keep one of the div, use for each with array index, and that will be 2 in this case. Remove the repetitive divs and refresh the browser, and you can see all this data from the database being displayed there, right? So we go to another section then. Let's change its name to business, right? And we'll do exactly the same as you did earlier, right? So the first data is gone, so I'm using array index 1 here and displaying the description with strip, character limit and the title, and we can use for each. Then that will be slice from array index 2 and the number of data to be displayed will be 4, and that will be the image and that will be the title. Remove all the repetitive divs, refresh the browser, right, and you can see the changes there, all the posts from the category business there. So we go to the last two sections on the left section here, and both of them contains image only, right? So let's make one of them entertainment and the other politics. So let's go for the first one. Let's make it entertainment, right? And we've got images only there, so creating div, keeping one of the images, removing all other, and we can use styling if we want, and then using for each and slicing from array index 1, and the number of data being displayed will be 6, right? Refresh the browser and you can see there are 4 data, so 4 will be displayed, and that seems a bit awkward, so let's add a bit of styling to align them properly. Overflow hidden. Yep, refresh the browser and you can see all of them aligned properly. So let's go with the other section, and I told you earlier that I'm going to make it politics, so let's change it name to politics. Here's the div already written there, so using straight for each loop with slice index 1 to 9. Let's display the title as well. Remove all the repetitive divs there. Refresh the browser and you can see all the data there being displayed, right? So you can do the same with the right section, right? But what I'm gonna do here is work on the category page so that you can display the category page of related category on single click on the category titles, right? So for that I'm gonna first create a function that will return the category page as view, right? So that we'll be adding variable here so that we don't need to create function for each of the categories, right? So the function variable slots will be the category name here, right? Then we're defining the returning view here. Then we'll be adding the root here. We can use any name, but we can repeat the same function name twice for different views, so I'm gonna change that function name there. Let's make it category. That will be easier to remember as well, right? So type any of the category name, and there's a bit of error, and that's done. And you can see the category page by adding any of the category name in the URL, right? So we're gonna make it dynamic then. We're gonna display the data from the database here, right? So what we're gonna do here is change the category page here, data here, so that will be data array index 0, that image, right? And that will be the description, and let's add the title as well. Make changes if you want, add conditions, refresh the browser, and you can see the title being displayed, and that's from the same category we typed in the URL, right? That's the work of variable. That's why we use the variable in that function, right? And we can use for each loop with array slice for multiple data below that, top post and category page. We can display the title as well, and then remove all those repetitive divs. Refresh the browser and you can see other posts from the same category. Actually we have used politics on top, so all those are from the politics category, right? So we can go on the more news section, but for those more news we need to create one more variable here, so that will be like this, right? So there are 7 titles there. So I'm using not equal to there, right? And this will be from other categories apart from the category being selected, right? So let's add display 7 data here. You can use take 7. I'm displaying it using slice 0 to 7. That's similar. Both of them work the same, right? Removing all the repetitive divs here. Refresh the browser then, and you can see the post there, different posts, and then we can go with other more news there, right? And that will be at index 9 here. Then the description, title, refresh the browser, and you can see that, right? So there are 2 more news below that post. So using for each in one of the div and removing the next one. That will be the image, and that will be the title. Refresh the browser, and you can see the post there, right? So we're into the advertisement section there, and you have got the small 2 images there, right? So rename the title to advertisement here. Create another variable where the title should be size should be small, right? Take 2, right? And that's done. Let's amend that to size, change that category to size, right? And redefine that variable, call it in the frontend file, and refresh the browser. You can see one of the advertisement, right? Because there's only one data with size small. So you can work on the more news section, but I'm gonna delete that one to keep the height even on both sides. Refresh the browser, and the category page is done, right? So you can use pagination if you want at the bottom, on the top left section of posts, right? Even in the right section, and you can see the pagination links there. You can go to different pages there, but keeping the number high will make the pagination work only once the data exceeds, right? So we're going to add URL in the index page for the categories in the app plate, so that we can get to different pages whenever we want. So with this link, we can go to the category page and click. You can see that, right? So the category page is done. So we're going to the article page, but right, we need to create the article function here, and here also there will be variable in the function, and that variable will be the title of the article, right? And the return view will be article page, and we use fish to get the fish data. Create a root for that, and what we're gonna do is let's add a link on one of the posts from index file, right? So that we can go to the file in one click. Click on the link, and you can see the article page open, right? So we're going to replace the static data with the dynamic one. So click on that, change that to right, make changes there, and what happens is whenever you click on that any of the posts, the same post is going to open in the category page, just like this, right? You can see the title is being displayed in white color. And you can add a bit of styling if you want for this description, right? I'm gonna use text align equals to justify for this paragraphs in that div. Okay, so you can go for other posts below that main post, but for that you need that variable category there. Alright, so I'm just defining that category here, and then using for each loop we can use display the data from the same category from which the main post is being displayed there, right? and the rest all of the things are similar. Refresh the browser and you can see, alright, and we have used pagination, so that's not being displayed until the number of data exceeds what we have defined. Okay, that's done. If you decrease the size, if you decrease the data number, that's going to be displayed. If you increase it, that's not going to be displayed until the number of data exceeds that. So we can go with the more new section on the right side with another variable here, and we'll prevent this main article from being repeated on that side, right? So I've used slash is not equal to $slash there, right? And you can even add category equals to category if you want articles from the same category being displayed on the right side. And then call for the variable, let's use text7, so that we get 7 articles displayed there, 7 data basically. Remove all the repetitive divs there, right? Make changes if you want. And the controller, refresh the browser and you can see that, right? So now we go with the advertisement section below that, right? And point to that database image from that variable. Refresh the browser and you can see that advertisement, right? Now you can repeat the process and display more data, right? For more new section below that advertisement, here I'm trying to display the data from the database meeting the conditions in our query. Alright, display the title as well. Refresh the browser and it says there's no such data, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to modify our query, basically removing that category equals to category clause from there, and that will work fine. Refresh the browser and you can see the data there, and below that advertisement as well, you can see that, right? So you can display furthermore data there. That will be 9 from array index 9 to 2, data display being 2, right? Refresh the browser and you can see that. So there's a small add section below that, right? So let's create a variable for that small add, as we did with the category page, right? Call it in the frontend file with for its loop. Point to the database image, take 2, refresh the browser and that's displaying, right? So more posts below then. Here I'll be displaying one more and deleting the other sections to keep the height even in this section as well. So I'm going to display 11 data here, and the title as well, and the description, right? And then I'm going to remove all those repetitive divs from there. Refresh the browser then, and you can see the data there. And that's all good, right? So now everything's done about displaying the data. Then what we need is add the links for all the posts, so that each of the posts can be opened in article page, right? So adding the article route to article page, and I guess you know how to link to the social sites, right? So that's all for the top header, and at the bottom we can add it, redirect it to the category page, right? But rather than keeping the title static, we can use a menu from the database, right? And breaking it into 2 columns, 4 in each of the column, right? So that will be index 0 to 4 and 4 to 4, and that's all for the app. After Blade, refresh the file, and you can see links on the bottom left corner, right, and the links there for the single post as well. So that's the latest news section. So the last thing remaining is we're gonna add the link to article page for all those posts one by one, starting from the index page, going through all those post links, right, adding the root to the URL, keep on breaking, okay, that's done for the left section. And if you remember, we left the right section unaddressed in this index file, right? So now you can address that section by adding another query and the index function and front controller, right? You can see that, right? So we're gonna add one more function here for more posts. Let's make it more news. Yep. That's done. Then call it here and loop for the first 7. Yeah, that's 7, right? Point to the database image and the title, and then remove all those repetitive divs here. Delete it, refresh the browser, and you can see there's no post from 50 onwards there, right? So whenever the post number exceeds 50, that will be displayed there, right? And the number of data being displayed there will be 7. So we can go with the medium ads below the post, where size equals to medium, order by if you want an order, then get, but instead of using get, you can use first, right? So that you don't need to use anything. You can straight call that variable there and point to the database field, and you can see the data, right? And you can go on working on all these posts below that, right? So I'm working on the small image, small advertisement section here, using the for each loop, right? Creating a variable for that in the function, index function. Refresh the browser and you can see that, right? So what you're gonna do now is go to the category page, right, and link all of those posts to article page. That's done. Open the browser, have a look in the browser and check if all the data are being linked. You can see the link on the bottom left corner, right? So going to the article page and linking all those images, right? And have a look at the browser if there's any error, if any of the link is missed. Yep, you can see, right? You can check all those links, and if any one of the link is omitted, you can add it, right? So almost everything's done here. That's how we work in Laravel. The only thing remaining here is the search function, and I'll show you how to do that in the next tutorial. Alright, so thanks for watching, and do subscribe us to get notified when the next video is uploaded. Thank you.